That was an absolute horror show of a debate. Biden lost his track of he lost his train of thought. He lost control. Um, I thought he failed as far as really articulating and hammering the point to reinstate Roe versus Wade. Joe Biden he has to step down right now. If the DNC is concerned about saving our democracy, if you want to save our democracy, run someone who is far better and can stand up to Donald Trump, because Joe Biden belongs in a nursing home, and millions of people watching on TV saw someone his voice was off. He sounded weak. He sounded old. I think the DNC should take matters into their own hands, and we must invoke a 25th Amendment. If he's mentally handicapped, mentally deficient to handle the duties of the presidency, it's time to invoke the 25th Amendment on Joe Biden. He is not able to perform the everyday operations of the presidency, even though most likely everything is decided by other cabinet members to begin with. So he's not making the decisions. Like Donald Trump wasn't really making the decisions during this presidency. It was Mike Pence and his inner cabinet. Same thing with Joe Biden. He's not making the decisions. The handlers are making the decisions. And let me tell you, I believe if we need to preserve and save our democracy from Donald Trump because he tried to overthrow it on January the 6th. If you want to save democracy, you don't take any chances with Joe Biden. You run a much stronger candidate who can compete head to toe. And this is where Biden failed in the debate. Any other person out there would have easily disproven every single one of Donald Trump's lies on the stage. Joe Biden was not even countering the lies Donald Trump was making. He is completely mentally handicapped. He can't even explain why every single one of Donald Trump's falsehoods were not true. He absolutely failed to articulate the point on abortion, the top issue. The abortion is going to win this election for the Democratic Party. Well, that's not the only issue. Saving democracy, abortion, preventing an insurrectionist from taking the White House. Now, if Donald Trump is in the White House, we are in trouble. How are we in trouble? We are closer to World War III if Donald Trump is in the White House. Right now, we're giving weapons to Ukraine. That's great because we're not sacrificing American lives over at Ukraine. But once Donald Trump dismantles NATO, then this will allow Vladimir Putin to try to reestablish the USSR. 2005, he said the collapse of the Soviet Union was the greatest catastrophe of the country of Russia. And Vlad is not going to stop at Ukraine. If we stop sending help to Ukraine, NATO is going to be invaded, and you and I are going to be drafted into the army, and we are going to be shipped off to war overseas. You only make things worse when you stop sending weapons to Ukraine. Donald Trump is absolutely going to work for Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump's entire business empire was saved by Russian oligarch money. I am absolutely concerned about a Donald Trump presidency. This is why I think most Americans are decent that Donald Trump will not win the election. I absolutely feel that. And when it comes down to it, the Republican Party has no platform. What are we speaking about? People who are 20 to 40 to 50 years of age are concerned about the future of the planet. We want action on climate change right now. We want a planet that we can live on 30, 40, 50 years from now. We don't want to live in a dust bowl, a cesspool of pollution. We want to act on climate change. The Republican Party is against climate change. The reversal of Roe versus Wade is going to hurt the Republican Party. And until they change their stance on abortion and the right to choose, small government right to choose is a thing that the GOP can champion itself, but it's not even going to do that because it's not going to happen until they run Ivanka in 2028. Now, I still like Biden to win because Americans have short-term memory, and I doubt a presidential debate is going to change people's stances on the president to begin with because most people are hard blue, hard right, or hard left. So it's not going to make a difference. It only makes a difference to independents and moderates down the middle. And to independents and moderates down the middle, they just don't want to hear Biden old, Biden bad. They want to hear a real platform to get behind. What are you going to do for ordinary Americans? And this is what's failing the GOP is that they've had no platform since 2020. No party platform in 2020 and no platform in 2024. No new ideas, nothing to offer to the average American except tax breaks for the billionaires, and they want to dismantle healthcare. The Republican Party is not going to change. Hopefully it becomes. Hopefully, what it becomes is it becomes like the right wing parties in Europe. So even the right-wing parties in Europe, they may be for supply-side economics. They may be for laissez-faire, hands-off kind of idea with the economy. These right-wing parties in Europe don't dismiss climate change. That is what makes the Republican Party extremist, is they don't believe in climate change. Right-wing parties in Europe believe in that climate change is real, caused by man-made activity. We must act on it. You see, the right wing in Europe is not completely crazy where they ignore science. This is what the GOP has to do. They got to get behind climate change, action, no climate inaction. And small government don't tell women what to do with their bodies. This is what's failing the Republican Party. They're losing this election. Now, if it was about winning, you simply unite people and bring everyone together during COVID. If it's about winning, you run Bernie instead of Hillary. Republican Party, they're trying to lose this election. The reversal of Roe versus Wade. If you're trying to win an election, you don't reverse Roe versus Wade. Now they think it's about control, and it is absolutely about control. It's still the party of the old white man, and the Republican Party is, as we know, the Trumpist Republican Party under the ideals of Donald Trump is going to end after this election cycle, and the new Republican Party of Ivanka Trump and a little bit of liberalism for social issues is how it's going to change for 2028. So there is going to be a coherent party platform in 2028, but that's what we're missing right now. And it's true that 4 months is a long time until the next presidential debate. Is Biden going to be around? Is he going to perform better? Americans have short-term memory. They're only going to forget what happens right before the election. So for all we know, is the next presidential debate going to matter more than this one? Most likely. But I believe most people already have made up their minds who they want for the president. Because again, it's not your 40% on either left or right. It's really 10 to 15% that are going to decide the election. Maybe I should include the amount of Republicans in recent years that have switched to independent. So that factor too, we can't ignore. But I believe it's time for Joe Biden to step down. The decision shouldn't be up to Joe Biden. Trump told a lot of lies during that debate. The very first statement he made was an absolute lie. We had the greatest economy in history. No, the greatest economy in history was when we had factories. We produced stuff in America, and GDP wasn't under 3%. It was 4, it was 5, it was 6% GDP. The economy grew grew much more in prior decades when Americans had more money in their pockets. So that was a lie from the start as well. We didn't have the greatest economy under Donald Trump. But Joe Biden is so completely incompetent and so senile that he can't even attack every single one of Donald Trump's false statements. The only thing that can do it is a fact checker. And Joe Biden was absolutely useless. His performance was terrible, and yet I believe Donald Trump sounded like an angry old man, right? His audience should not be limited to just people that are 55 and older. Donald Trump has to connect to people who are 20 to 40 years of age. You got to give them a platform to get behind that's going to make a difference in their lives. If it is having cleaner air to breathe, saving and preserving our planet for their children and their grandchildren, this is where Donald Trump has failed. He has failed to do anything to support the women vote. He is costing female votes with this reversal Roe versus Wade. It's just insanity because it's not about winning elections at the end of the day. Remember, I told you, you don't rig the election against Bernie. You run the best guy that can compete with Trump. And DNC didn't try to win the election in 2016. DNC had no problem seeing Donald Trump fuck this country up for 4 years. Now, during the time of the Roe versus Wade reversal, I was thinking Republican Party thinks the economy will do worse under a second term under Joe Biden, and it could very be the case. You know why the economy is very sluggish still? Well, GDP is under 3%. So GDP growth was under 3%, which again shows that the economy is doing terrible based on GDP growth. Because Donald Trump never reached over 3% GDP growth in a single year. And this year it was under 3%. So the economy and the stock market is no real indicator of the economy. People need money today when they are healthy and they're not feeling old and frail in retirement. That's just the bottom line. What percentage of the stock market do the rich possess? 80, 85%, 90%? So the stock market is fool's gold. The stock market only shows how the rich are doing. The rich seems like they're doing very well regardless of who's the president. There's another thing Donald Trump said. He said, Biden had the worst presidency ever. Well, the worst president ever passed more bipartisan infrastructure deals than Donald Trump did in his entire presidency. Anyway, I think Biden should step down. I think Bernie's weak. I think Bernie's weak because he should be running for president. But Bernie is saying, I'm going to endorse Donald Trump no matter what. So Bernie Sanders is weak. He's part of the establishment. He's only concerned about making friends. Bernie is a joke. And Bernie's not going to fight against the system. Bernie is an absolute joke. And I don't think Kamala Harris should be the nominee either. Kamala would be like the worst. She is god awful. Her demeanor, the jailing of the people who were smoking up blood. I mean, she is awful. She even tried to lock up innocent people too. Nobody likes Kamala left or right, so she'd be the absolute worst. I think Kamala would hand the election to the GOP if Biden steps down. Kamala's the nominee. I just feel the Republican Party needs to do more to get more of the share of the 18 to 45 to 50-year-old vote. They're not doing enough. And I think it's not going to be a coincidence that when you have a female nominee, Ivanka, that suddenly she's going to get behind Roe versus Wade, and the Republican Party will get behind Roe versus Wade. So these are my sentiments as far as 2024 and 2028 is concerned. Trumpism is going to end. I need an organized definition of what Trumpism constitutes, but there's no real platform for the Republican Party, and I believe that they will start to have more of a party platform for 2028. Share your thoughts on the debate and what you think is going to happen for the election, but GOP hasn't done enough. I feel that the social issues Ivanka is going to start the champion in 2028 is my theory. And Biden will get behind the CHIPS Act, some semiconductor plant jobs that he bought back, that Donald Trump really didn't do. Biden reduced the deficit. Biden increased some tax rates, but there's still lower effective tax rates than 2016. And Biden needs to stop being a freaking globalist fucking sellout and close the fucking border down. Why can't we have all the left wing issues like healthcare, low taxes, higher taxes for the wealthy? Why can't we be for tighter border security too? Why do you have to let every fucking person in? And we're fucking paying for these people, right? When they have nothing, when they're coming here. I mean, it's a burden to the rest of us. Sure, we hope you do well. We hope for a better life, but the rich are not going to pay for all these migrants coming in. You and I are going to pay for that. It's a fucking disaster. Some of these people being killed by some of these gang members coming over, man. Why can't Democratic Party be for a tighter border? It's because both parties are controlled by globalists. That's why. They're both controlled by rich people. Republicans gotta, be against the immigration because they gotta, kind of cater to the old white people. But the Democrats, they're gonna allow the Republicans to bring in their cheap labor that these businesses like. These undocumented people that they can pay $3 an hour. So this is why the Republican Party didn't support the bipartisan border bill, because Republicans are businessmen and they like the supply of cheap labor. It is fucking up our country, yes. We're fighting a two-front war, one with the border and two with our allies in Europe. Trump is going to fuck up Europe and Biden's going to fuck up the border. So that's just how I look at it. World War III, Putin's going to retake the old territories of the USSR, and if Biden's reelected, he's going to fuck up the border. So we're fucked either way, okay? We're fucked either way. How can we survive? How can we risk World War III? How can we risk the consequences of having no restrictions with the border whatsoever? You can be for legal documented immigration, but letting everybody in, who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for it? Who's paying for everything at their hotels? Do they have any jobs? Do they have any jobs at the hotels? Really, are they working? They're staying at freaking 4 or 5 star luxury hotels, man. The fucking veterans are out in the street, okay? This is some real ass shit you got to get behind, man. Don't just support everything of the party's platform, Be your own person, Be your own person. Don't be the sheep. Don't follow along with every policy of your guy, whether it be Trump or whether it be Biden. I'm for a stance on the board. Be a lot of consequences if we sit back and we just have a completely wide open border. So I understand it's globalism, by the way. Cheap, Republicans will just get out all their rhetoric with the border. Remember, donors control both parties. So the donors, they want the cheap labor. It's all fugazi, is what it is at the end of the day. It's all fugazi. This is what it is. Biden, the tax rates that Donald Trump lowered, Biden didn't even match. The corporate rate is not 35. The corporate rate for 2021 to 2024 is still lower than it was in 2016. So the Democratic Party still giving the rich an effective tax cut since 2016. It's just the corporate rate's not 15%, it's 28%, but it was 35% in 2016. So why the hell is it not 35% or greater in 2024? Because they're helping the wealthy too, relative to what the corporate rate was in 2016. You know, the Dems blocked the rise of the minimum wage in the Senate too. Let's not forget about that too. Man, fuck talk about politics, man. I just want to get my stuff in, but damn, the more I talk about that shit, fuck that, man. Turn on some fucking sports. I'm done with this shit right now, man. No wonder why I don't watch CNN or MSNBC anymore, man. It's fucking negative energy is what it is. Biden, step the hell down. Step the hell down. We have both candidates are a fucking joke. Get rid of the whole lot of them. The whole fucking lot of them need to fucking go.